You're watching Sky Sports.
With Honda supplying all the IndyCar horsepower, it's appropriate that round 3 of the 2008 IndyCar Series takes place on one of the few oval tracks outside America. We're in Japan for a 200 miles per hour encounter, with Britain's Dan Wheldon a past double winner here, but he'll have to fight off the likes of Helio Castroneves, Scott Dixon and Tony Kanaan if he's to score his first win of the season. It's action all the way in the Japan Indy 300 on the twin-ring Motegi track. Hello everyone, and what an extraordinary weekend for IndyCar fans. For the first and only time there will be 2 IndyCar races on 2 different continents on the same weekend. The other race is of course the Long Beach Grand Prix, and while it's the finale for the Champ Car Series, it does actually count for IndyCar points of course. More of that later. Today we're in the Tochigi province in the east of Japan on this circuit complex which combines the 1.5 mile oval and a tricky road course. It's early days in the championship of course, with wins so far for Scott Dixon and then sensationally on the streets of St Petersburg for young Graham Rahal a couple of weeks ago. To discuss this weekend, this unique weekend in fact, and to put a perspective on today's action, in the studio today are our 2 regular IndyCar experts, Paul Cherry and Tim Scott. But before I talk to them, let's check out the headlines for today. The big news has been the weather, and not for the first time here in Japan. Qualifying was completely washed out yesterday, and the grid is based on championship positions. And that puts Helio Castroneves on pole position, although he would have been a candidate for that in any event, most would say. But missing from the grid are the Champ Car contingent, including St Petersburg winner Graham Rahal, who is of course racing in California. And that moves Dan Wheldon up to 5th spot, and he starts on row 3. Darren Manning is on row 6, and Jay Howard is on row 7. So after the 2 races, let's check out the series standings so far this year. Pole sitter Helio Castroneves, although he hasn't won a race this season, leads the series with 72 points, 10 ahead of Homestead winner Scott Dixon. Tony Kanaan is 3rd, and then with 3 drivers tying on 53 points, including Graham Rahal, who's racing in Long Beach of course. Danica Patrick heads up the rest. But the continuing story in Japan is the weather. Prior to race day, about 2.3 inches of rain fell in the space of 30 hours. And with the track in the foothills of the Hakko Mountains, it meant there was some very sodden subsoil. This morning, officials were greeted with a dry track, but, and this is a very big but of course, there were some weepers. For the uninitiated, weepers is the description given for water oozing out of the track, particularly where there are cracks, as there are in all such circuits. Weepers disrupt the first ever Champ Car race at Britain's Rockingham Speedway, and at times have been a problem at Indianapolis. Paul Cherry, it's a problem we've seen before. It's happened here in Japan in the past, but it is a big problem, isn't it?
Yes, I mean Motegi is an unbelievable facility. It cost Honda in the region of 500 million to build it. It houses the Honda Museum, which is the world's finest collection of racing memorabilia that you can find. But it's actually built entirely on rock. They bought 2 mountains, cut the tops off, pushed the rubble into the middle, laid it flat and then built everything on top of it. So the water has nowhere to go. The water table, so to speak, is very high up. And what's happened here is the very small amount of soil they've got, which is below the track, has absorbed the water, and the track is just now oozing it through. A
bit like a swimming pool in reverse, Tim. It's trying to keep the water out rather than trying to keep the water in. They just don't race on these conditions, do they?
No, not at all. Unlike any sort of road course racing that we're more familiar with in Europe, on oval racing you simply cannot run when there's any type of moisture, rain or just a damp patch. And that's all these things are. But if the cars hit a damp patch and suddenly have a change of grip level, on an oval with very little grip they can suddenly be in the wall, and it's just unacceptable risk.
Well, to continue the story, the race officials, both Japanese and the IndyCar safety guys, seem to be winning the battle to dry up these patches. As the race start time approached, we were told the delay will be 15 minutes, then 30 minutes, and we can now look at those activities. And I mean, these were earlier on today, Paul. Weepers everywhere, but we've been watching these pictures coming in, and there was just no chance, was there, really?
Well, the problem is it's like blotting paper. It's pulling through to the top, but unfortunately you can't see whether there's a pint of water underneath or 500 gallons. And the problem here is, as fast as they're drying it, it's just physically coming back through. This was the big problem that we had at Rockingham when we went there for the first ever race, and which is why the whole event was sort of rained out until the last day. You just can't see what you're fighting. And here we've got a 70-foot strip in one area, but the key places are pit in and pit out. So you can imagine people are coming 200 mile an hour, pulling into the pits. That is extremely dangerous.
Well, it's a great facility, but I suppose the weather, I mean, that was an extraordinary amount of water that dropped, Tim, in a very short period of time, and I suppose that even the Japanese, industrious as they are, couldn't sort it.
Yes, this is it. As we're saying, you know, this is water coming up, not water sitting on the track, not drying. This is actually water being absorbed up by the tarmac, very porous material. And so they work with heaters. They have a big set of blowers that go around. I mean, I remember at the Rockingham race, we were camping on the infield and we had blowers going all night. No one slept a wink, but you can go hours and hours and hours with blowing the heat, trying to blow the track dry. If the water keeps coming up, you just can't fight it.
Well, as you can see there from our pictures, rather than getting better, more and more water started to ooze up, as Tim's been saying, from the track. And finally, after 2 hours of trying, race director Brian Barnhart decided the race had to be postponed. A little earlier, he told Jack Arute about the problem.
Yeah, we've hoofed our way down to this turn 4 here. Brian, you have been overseeing all the repairs and trying to get these weepers to stop weeping. What's the status?
Well, it just keeps coming back, Jack, and that seems to be the problem. We had it to a point where we were pretty comfortable, went and got a few drivers and went and looked, and we wanted to show them the 3 spots that we've been working. By the time we stopped at the first spot and the second spot, by the time we came back to turn 4, it had already come back to a point where it was unrunnable. So the fact that it's returning that quickly shows us there's a lot of pressure under the racetrack and the water's needing a place to go, and it's just coming up and creating an unsafe situation.
How would you compare the weepers here at Motegi to the weepers that we have become so accustomed to when we get a lot of rain at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
I don't think I've ever seen them this long or this big, Jack. There's a segment in here, one of them is probably 70 feet long. They're longitudinal instead of, being a 90-degree to the infield where you could pass through it quickly. In this particular instance, the tires are going to get several rotations and revolutions in an area that has a lower coefficient of friction and less grip. So I'm really concerned about how long they are longitudinally, because the car is going to be in them for a longer duration.
In order to get the full 300 miles in today, we're up against a time frame. What is the drop dead time for today?
Well, we'd really need to be started by 3 o'clock to be in. It's an hour and 57 average is what we've run around here. It's dark by 5, so we need to start by 3, which is 46, 47 minutes by now, and we're going to have our challenges to do that. It's just coming back so quickly. It's important to the drivers. I got to get their buy-in before we're going to go, and right now it's unanimous. None of them say we can go.
Well, Brian, we'll let you go back to work. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack.
And a lot of work to do as well. So obviously the official had a plan, and so have we. So please stay tuned. We're going to bring you highlights of the 2 previous IndyCar races of the season. Plenty of interviews. You must stay with us for those. Some great stuff coming in from Japan. News from the other IndyCar race at Long Beach, and plenty more besides. But first, we'll take a quick break. Welcome back to our coverage of the Japan Indy 300. Back in 2000, this race was postponed by a day, and that appears to be the case today. There'll be no racing Saturday, but we still have a great programme coming up for you, of course, with action from the previous Indy races, news and lots of comment from Japan. But I suppose, first of all, Tim, we ought to just really talk about the unification to the uninitiated, of course. Some people will not understand how we can score points on 2 continents on the same day in what is effectively 2 different types of race cars. I think you better just quickly go through that, if you can go through it quickly.
Well, yeah, it in a nutshell, you had 2 series, Champ Car and Indy Car, and they sat down this winter and the bosses decided to unify for the good of the sport. And the split after 10 years was ended. Champ Car's Jewel in the Crown race was Long Beach, and they had a contract to race there. They had to have 16 minimum cars racing at Long Beach. Same weekend, IndyCar was contracted to be in Motegi. Unfortunately, Long Beach, sponsored by Toyota, Motegi sponsored by Honda, they weren't going to really come to a compromise. So in the end, we ended up with a weekend of 2 races, running 2 separate types of cars. Only this is the last Champ Car race and the beginning, I think, of IndyCar unification, truly moving forward as one now.
Perhaps less than ideal at the moment, but maybe if Graham Rahal wins at Long Beach tomorrow, he could actually finish up leading the championship. But everything will start to iron itself out the other side of next month's Indy 500, which will, of course, be live here on Sky Sports and for the first time in high definition. But first, let's check in with Graham Rahal.
The hardiest of race fans trying to wait out Mother Nature and get this second event of the 2008 season underway.
As a parent, I'm cheering Graham on.
It's great that he can still be a dad, and he's not afraid to be a dad.
The Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg underway. Graham Rahal making contact with Will Power. This is some pretty good contact here. The 06 of Graham Rahal, a second generation on the streets of St. Petersburg.
Graham Rahal grabbed the lead. He got to the inside of Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Can this young man win his first IndyCar race today?
Bobby Rahal's got a smile on his face.
We have a new star in IndyCar racing. He's only a teenager.
19-year-old Graham Rahal in his first IndyCar Series start will win the Honda Grand Prix of St. Pete.
Bobby, describe the feelings of a father to see his son do what you did so many times.
Fantastic. All I can say is I think this is the first of many.
What are you going to say to him when you get to victory lane?
I don't know.
Say hello to a new star in the IndyCar Series.
It is always fun to be a part of history, and that certainly is one of the moments. At age 19, becoming the youngest to win an IndyCar event in any form of open wheel racing in North America. And joining us now in our studio in Long Beach, and yes, we're going to give things away here. Scott and I are sitting trackside at Long Beach, where we'll be calling the race on Sunday, and right in between us is Graham Rahal, and the booth is so small we don't have room for a camera, so we can't put him on camera. But Graham, first off, congratulations and thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we just found out from Jack Arute that Dad has already bolted from the track there in Motegi as he is trying to jump the plane to get back here to Long Beach because he's Grand Marshal for this race on Sunday.
He is, yeah. Well, I'm actually a little surprised that he did leave. I mean, traveling all that way just to leave before the race starts. I guess it's a bit of traveling for a short time there.
This has been a whirlwind couple of weeks for you. Describe some of it for me.
It's been busy, yeah. I mean, lots been happening ever since the win, and certainly I think due to the unification, I think the media has really taken this by storm, and it's been exciting doing Letterman and everything that we've done over the past couple of weeks, and it's been busy, I can assure you. I think there's only one day I've had to kind of relax, and I played golf all day it was a beautiful day in Columbus, so can't wait to obviously get home and relax a little more, but it's busy for us with here in Kansas and then off to Indy.
Let's talk a little bit about the podium ceremony, because to me it demonstrates how both groups have come together and really are accepting each other. Take a look at this tape. Go through what happened.
Yeah, no, these guys were all messing around, so I figured if they weren't going to let me on, I was going to pull them off too.
And according to rules, since you're under 21, no champagne can be distributed at the podium ceremony.
Yeah, I know, but we've done it in the past where they give it to me. I mean, trust me, I understand, except you can't drink it.
So for those who did not see the David Letterman show, let's roll this tape, because this was, to me, the best part of the whole deal. And this was just this past Wednesday when David Letterman had you, and this is you coming out.
Absolutely, yeah. It was obviously it's different because I've known Dave for so long, and actually when I was standing behind backstage, I did see the bottle of champagne, so I knew it was coming.
Now, did anybody get upset with you spraying them in the audience?
I don't know. I should have looked at their faces more than once, because I'd imagine there were a few that weren't too happy.
Should have had the plastic like at a Gallagher concert or something. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about Sunday, since you're going to be racing. Tell everybody how you did in practice and what you expect to happen in the race.
Yeah, I mean, today went fairly well for us. We started off a little rough this morning, but I think, qualifying... because that this is still a Champ Car race, we're using the Panos, we use the Champ Car schedule, obviously. So we do a qualifying on Friday and Saturday, and today we qualified 5th. we're not too far off. I think that there's still a bit of improvement to go. And of course, with the Champ cars, you know, when you have the black tires and the red Bridgestone tires, it's a bit different. So when you look at the times, it's kind of up in the air. But no, I think we've got a good car, and we keep improving it. And I think, you know, certainly tomorrow we ought to be even closer.
Now, road courses you're very familiar with, but not so much success at Homestead for the first oval. We spoke to you before you went out on the track, and then you had the slap against the wall. You seem very calm and collected when we spoke with you afterwards, so it didn't seem like that affected you very much. But obviously we're going to watch the Japan race here, and I'm sure you've watched a lot of races on television. What's your thoughts about getting involved in the oval, something that you don't really have that much experience with?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, you know, I really did have fun at Homestead. It was a bummer not to be part of the race because, you know, it would have been so nice to get the first one off my back there. And but again, I think, you know, looking forward to Kansas next weekend because, again, it's going to give us a good shot at learning a little more. And obviously for myself, any time I can get in the seat is a good thing. And I think, you know, we've been able to do some wind tunnel testing, so we ought to be a little closer than we were before. And, you know, it's just, it was good. I think, you know, it may have been a blessing in disguise that we weren't part of it because at the end of the day, it was going to take a lot of effort to get back in it. And it didn't seem feasible to do it.
Second generation driver, obviously your dad's won so much and you have the opportunity now to get a lot of knowledge from him. Is there a lot of draw coming out of your dad, or are you sort of one of those drivers that are going to go along and learn it yourself, or do you try and sit at the table with him over breakfast and just try and get everything out of that knowledge camp that he has?
I try to learn as much as I can. I mean, obviously Dad's been around a long time, had a lot of success, so anytime you can try to, you know, be like a sponge and just soak everything up that you can from him and from everybody else around me, I try to. But I think, as you know, it's tough because unless you actually experience it yourself, I mean, someone can tell you how to do it all day long, but unless you're the one doing it, it's always a little bit different. So yeah, I think, you know, I'm looking forward to going out there and being a part of it because until I get to do it, it's always going to be, you know, there's going to be a question mark in my mind as to, you know, how exactly. I mean, people can sit here and tell me how to do it all day, but it's tough. So I'm looking forward to going to Kansas, like I said, and I've actually been there when Buddy and Vitor finished 1-2. So certainly looking forward to going there.
Well, we are looking at our watches, and you're 3 minutes away from curfew, so I got to let you get out of here because I don't want to catch down.
And that's by the team. That's not by
yeah. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's 19, folks. It's a Newman Haas Lanigan racing rule, and we're going to let you get out of here. And good luck this weekend.
So pictures there from Motegi, of course, that the clean-up that was going on earlier on, but sound from somewhat surreally from, of course, California, from Graham Rahal. Some would say he had quite a lot of luck, I suppose, in Florida for the St. Petersburg race. It was quite a difficult one with the weather as well there, but no doubt about it, boy, done good.
At the end of the day, you have to be in the right place at the right time, and he was that man. And he took the pressure well. But for sure, there was an element of luck. But how many times do we see every season luck favour some people and really screw up others? So, no, I mean, Graham's, he's a great talent. He is a chip off the old block. I think we've seen many sons of drivers who have not actually made the cut.
Quite emotional, wasn't it? It looked quite emotional between father and son.
Absolutely. I would think it's very hard for Bobby. I've known Bobby nearly 30 years when he was at Formula 2 in the 70s, and he's distanced himself to give Graham his opportunities, but he definitely is a very, very close father, and he came to the A1 races when Graham was running for the team Lebanon, and he is very much in the frame, but he doesn't meddle. He's not a traditional racing father.
Okay, Tim, let's look forward to what we've got to come tomorrow from Motegi, of course. This track, it's 11 years old now, something like 11 years old, but of course it is very similar to some of the 1.5 mile ovals out in the States. I mean, how does that pan out as far as the drivers and the teams are concerned, apart from it being a hell of a long way logistically?
It makes it the first, you know, after Homestead, it's a 1.5 mile oval that makes it one of the stock oval tracks of the series. And really the key to winning the IndyCar Series Championship is to get your setup right for 1.5 ovals. These fairly high, steep banked ovals where the cars run 2-3 abreast throughout the race. And it's all about finding the right ride height, the balance, having a car good in traffic. And the teams that nail their performance on these ovals as opposed to the short ovals where they're changing gear, or Indy, which is flat, hardly banked at all. That's the key to winning the championship, because it's one of 7 tracks like this.
We've talked about some of the bigger names in IndyCar at the moment, but I mean, what about a surprise from someone like Ryan Briscoe here? I mean, you know, could he pull something off that's a little bit special? Could we see another youngster coming through at this particular round, do you think, Paul?
Well, this particular 1.5 mile oval offers a completely different challenge, because it's most ovals we see, we have 2 corners or 2 halves of a semicircle with 2 straights. Here you have 2 halves of a circle, but they're bigger and smaller. Therefore, you have different closing speeds, different acceleration. Some people say it's more akin to an oval as a road course, because you have so much more work to do. Will it favour somebody different? It may well do, but as Tim said, the teams that know exactly what to do and the early season races, they're the ones that are going to make their move. But with a bit of luck, it's a long race here.
Well, let's check out now the full 18-car starting grid, which contains 2 Japanese drivers, of course, Hideki Muto and Roger Yoshikawa.
Some of the beautiful views that we get here in Motegi, Japan, as you can see, as we're getting ready for the Firestone IndyCar 300. We're still trying to dry out the weepers in turn 4 and on the outrun lane of pit lane in turn 2. And there you see the action going on in turn number 4. Gives us a chance. We haven't set the starting field. 18 cars are here in Motegi. There'll be another 20 in Long Beach on Sunday. And in your front row, it'll be Elio Castroneves on pole, and this is all based on the owner points. Scott Dixon will be outside in row number 1. Then take a look at row number 2. Last year's winner, Tony Kanaan, and his Andretti Green teammate, Marco Andretti. And then as we take a look at row number 3, Dan Weldon and Danica Patrick.
Actually, in 2 drivers that probably don't want to start beside each other because they've had a few run-ins along the way, but both have actually run relatively well. Dan Weldon was 3rd quickest in the practice they had, and Danica was 8th.
Take a look at row number 4. That is the entire Vision Racing camp. Ed Carpenter and A.J. Foyt the 4th, and more on that team a little bit later because they have some high expectations, and Jack Arute will probably be able to fill us in on those as the day progresses. In row number 5, Hideki Muto, and this is a big event for the Japanese native.
And we saw the pressure it can put on a driver last year when we saw Kotsuki Misura crash in the first lap of the start. So when it's your hometown race, no doubt a lot of pressure and a lot of fan base here covering him. So a lot of pressure will be put on him for the start here in Japan here this evening. Now Ryan Hunter-Reay, very strong run in that ethanol car, and a driver who I think is going to continue improving this year, Marty, and a guy that I think we're going to see in the podium sooner or later.
But he's never run at Motegi until this weekend. Darren Manning, Buddy Rice, they'll be side by side in row number 6. Buddy Rice and his wife had a baby. In fact, well, actually, Michelle had the baby. Buddy was just there for support. Daughter Mina was born April 9th. And congratulations to Buddy and Michelle. Take a look at row number 7. Vitor Mir and Jay Howard, and a little problem with Mir before the start of the race.
They were trying to warm the car up and found that they had a fuel pressure problem. Went into the inside of the tank to change the fuel pump. Got that rectified. The car has now been put on the grid. So that can also be a little bit of excitement for the driver, knowing that he's got a car underneath him that may or may not work when he takes the green flag. And Jay Howard, running for Marty Roth Racing, is new to the Indy cars, but a Indy Pro Series champion, and certainly as a guy that has a lot of ability and a lot of talent.
I was probably going to say that Vitor Mir's team, the only team that was really happy to have the delay with the weepers, because it gave them the time to get the car fixed. Let's take a look at row number 8, and there's Ryan Briscoe and Townsend Bell. Now, Briscoe was 7th quickest in the overall practice schedule, and Townsend Bell, right alongside him. So watch for Briscoe to move up through the field. And in row number 9, Marty Roth and Roger Yasukawa making his first start of the season for Greg Beck's team.
And Roger said he's working on a program to run the Indianapolis 500 also, and Greg Beck's team is also working on a program to try to get Alex Barron in a car for the Indianapolis 500. So I think we're going to see a lot of excitement come qualifying time for the Indy 500 in May.
Well, let's talk about the Brits then, shall we? Dan Weldon, Tim, I mean, he's won here a couple of times. He had a good one out in Homestead, got a new engineer, so things looking pretty good for Dan Weldon. He's got new teeth, more about that in a little while, of course. We'll be talking about it. Everyone's smiling in here for keeping their teeth covered up. Whiter than I've ever seen in my life. But can he win here, joking apart?
Definitely. He won here twice, actually, in 2004, 2005. He took Honda's first win, very emotionally for them, at their home circuit. And he's an expert here. He finished second last year, having moved over to target Chip Ganassi. We've talked about this year about how he's trying to bounce back from a disappointing second half of last season. And he's made a solid start. I mean, third place at Homestead. He was, his teammate Dixon won, but he was third. Didn't really have a great time at St. Petersburg, but he's right in the mix. And I think an important race, this one, for him, to get a good result, get on, good run into Kansas, and then take that momentum into the month of May at Indianapolis.
Indeed, that's the big one, of course, coming up, and you'll be able to see it live and in high definition here on Sky Sports. Paul, Darren Manning, he's a favourite as far as Sky Sports fans are concerned, but Jay Howard we don't know quite so much about, or we haven't actually mentioned him quite so much in the build-up to some of these Indy races at the moment. From Basildon, of course, but tell us more.
Well, from Basildon, that says it all.
You're going to be in trouble.
Jay's been one of those drivers who's actually been as smart as Dan Weldon. He was meteoric in the junior formulas in the UK, but he got to a point where looking for money for Formula 3 or GP Tour, whatever, was completely unrealistic. So he decided to take himself over to America and do Formula Ford and Ford 2000 as they have over there. Then got himself into the best team in Infinity Pro, won the series, had a year of trying to put a deal together, but's now come together with a good deal with Roth Racing. Definitely, it's going to be hard for him. They're not going to be a front-running team, but he's going to cut his teeth. He's going to get some mileage in. He's going to move forward in that arena.
I was told that Roth just called him out of the blue, and it was just one of those situations where it was there for him.
Well, they'd been looking for somebody, and predictably they were always looking for somebody with money, and all the people with money unfortunately hadn't got the adequate amount of talent to back up the wallet. So they said, well, if we've got to take somebody who's got an opportunity to move us forward, we need to find somebody who we can really invest in, and they looked at the list. Alex Lloyd was already taken by then by Chip Ganassi, so they said, okay, let's try Jay, and quite literally they said, okay, let's give him a ring.
New track to Jay. What do you expect? What do you think he would expect to finish like here, presumably, if we go racing tomorrow?
I think he'll want to build on the solid start that he's had to the season, and he's got to learn the tracks. You're not going to come out and be an international rookie star in that team in year one. He's got a good opportunity to, everything he does is going to be an advantage. He's not expected to win the race. Long as he finishes well, out-qualifies his teammate, that's as good as it gets.
And Darren?
Darren, well, what can we say about Darren? He goes up and down, up and down. Here, the problem is he's really got into AJ. He's actually made AJ spend some money, which is unbelievable. So you've got a Yorkshireman getting an American to spend money. That's quite a good deal. But in the real world, they've never been that strong. In spite of AJ's background, they're never that strong on the 1.5 miles. They're great on the shorts or Indianapolis and even the road courses because of Darren's experience. But the 1.5s, they always seem to have it wrong for some reason.
We are assuming, of course, that we will be going racing tomorrow in Motegi. But Tim, can I ask you a very quick question that I think we do need answering at this point? Is if they don't race at Motegi tomorrow and we have no championship points from Motegi tomorrow, what happens as far as the points in California are concerned?
I would imagine, because there's no regulations for this as such, but if we don't race in Motegi, then they'll race in Long Beach and someone will have the honour of winning the last ever Champ Car race, but there'll just simply be no points awarded towards the championship. We'll go to Kansas next weekend and just carry on from there.
And it all continues through the IndyCar Series. Final qualifying for Long Beach is yet to be run, but let's take a look at the provisional qualifying times. Remember, after this race, all these Elan chassis will be good for is a museum, of course, and some of the big-name drivers like Paul Tracy will no longer have a ride. But it's certainly looking good for Sheffield's Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson on the provisional pole then, driving for his new team, Newman Has Lanigan, racing with Spain's Oriol Servia second on row 2, Alex Tagliani, who will be out of work after this race, and Mario Dominguez as well, who we understand has just picked up an Indy ride. St. Petersburg winner Graham Rahal lines up with former Arrows F1 driver Enrique Benoldi, and 7th and 8th Forsyth teammates Frank Montagny, another man with F1 experience, and veteran Paul Tracy. Australia's Will Power and Venezuela's EJ Viso round out the top 10. In the second half of the grid, several drivers using the race to say goodbye, including Roberto Moreno and Jimmy Vasser. now a team owner, of course, plus 2 former Williams F1 test drivers, Bruno Gianquera and Antonio Pizzonia. A lot of big names there, Paul. I mean, really, the demise of Champ Car, just to go over old ground. I mean, it used to be a series for me that rivaled Formula One in the world as far as a series was concerned. Seemed to shoot itself through both feet simultaneously. Got into a battle with Tony George, which ultimately it's now lost. How long is it going to be before it comes back to its former glory, do you think, as a unified IndyCar series?
Not that long. I'm hearing very encouraging noises that there's at least 2 other manufacturers who are looking at coming back to the series now, because it's obviously the TV time, all the advantages, as you've said, the big names are all in one arena. There's no more sort of talk about it should be here, it should be there. So the whole thing's looking quite good. I think maybe in 3 years, sort of, counting this year, so we've got 2 more years, and I think we'll have damn good grids with 3 manufacturers at least involved.
Plenty to look forward to then in IndyCars, of course. If you've just joined us, expecting to see the start of the Japan Indy 300, I have to tell you the race has been postponed until tomorrow. But lots of action coming up here, nevertheless, so stay tuned. Welcome back. As you probably know by now, the Japan Indy 300 from Motegi has been postponed until tomorrow. However, prior to that decision, we were able to look forward to that race with some of the drivers. Let's hear from them now.
There is Helio Castroneves, and if you remember in 06, he was the pole sitter thanks to points because qualifying was rained out. Guess what happens again? Well, Helio is going to be on the pole again because he's leading the points, and there is his win in 2006, his one victory here in Japan, and he climbed the fence. He said it's one of the most difficult fences ever to climb, and guess what? It's his 100th start in the IndyCar Series. Let's go to Jackaroo.
Well, Helio Castroneves likes the rain, at least on qualifying, and it's a good omen. You won the last time. Now you find yourself doing exactly the same thing. Can you win again?
I certainly am going to try, and not only myself, but the entire team Penske. And it was lucky, and I will take it any time. And especially the conditions today, it's very important. At least start in the front. So it's going to be tough to everybody else. Cold weather. Hopefully they'll fix the whippers out there. And hey, we're ready.
Let's talk a little bit about those weepers. Just like at Indianapolis, now the water, because the rain here was so heavy yesterday, seeping up through the racetrack. Even when they shut them down, it's still moist down there. As a driver, what do you think when you hurtle through there at 200 miles an hour plus?
The good news is about IndyCar Series, they will do anything to first safety, make sure that everything is under control. We don't want to send the cars out there and everybody spinning out. And so at least when I go out there, I know the track is ready, and it's ready to race.
That rain all day yesterday washed all of the rubber off, and unlike races stateside where there may be support series, there have been none here. So it's a totally virgin racetrack that you'll take the green flag on. What are your concerns?
That's true. 2006, I remember very well. The first stint, it was very slippery. The good news is, it's the same for everybody else.
But how do you drive it in the beginning? Because are you able to really just drop the hammer, or do you have to kind of tiptoe a little bit?
You got to feel it. The car obviously going to tell what to do. Sometimes it gets you a little bit surprised, especially when you have gust winds like this, which makes a little bit challenge. And so as long as my plan is just to be patient. If it doesn't feel right, don't push it. And unfortunately, if you miss one position or two, the points, it's important for the championship. But right now, I feel that we have a fantastic car.
Guys, he's looking for another trophy to go next to that one that he won this past fall. What was it? Dancing with the Stars. I think he'd like to bring a Japanese trophy home too.
Well, we mentioned it's his 100th career start in the IndyCar Series, and he is the Iron Man of the series now. That's with 96 consecutive starts. You see his 23 poles, 12 wins, 52 top 5 finishes, and an even 2,500 laps led. And he'll be starting from the pole today.
Well, guys, the temperature here is in the mid-50s, and you have to have 50 degrees ambient temperature and track temperature in order to go racing, and cold tires are a concern. So, Danica, you decided you're going to warm the tires up, huh?
I'm doing everything I can because I'm not going to lie. The first session we did on Thursday, it was pretty slippery, and it was not this cold, and it was not this windy, and the track was not wet anywhere. So, yeah, what do we got to do? You know, we're sitting around waiting, so I thought we'd come over and warm the tires up.
Let's talk a little bit, though, about your experiences here. When you came over as a rookie, and man, you just startled all of us with leading a number of laps. And this place has had kind of a special meaning to you. What is it going to take, though, for you to put this car in victory lane today?
I think that, you know, you're just going to have that calculated balance between, you know, still pushing really hard to stay in the front, but yet being smart enough to finish. I mean, you can't win if you don't finish, but you have to stay with that lead group. So I think that, you know, come the last pit stop and, you know, we make it back out there with the leaders and we have a fast race car, I think anything can happen, absolutely. You know, I'm definitely going to be trying for my first win. So, yeah, it's definitely frustrating to come here in your first year and have a chance at winning and, you know, finishing in the first couple of spots and, you know, not have done it yet. So, I don't know what to say. I'm getting, you know, it's frustrating.
Are you getting tired of it?
Yeah. I just wish it would be over with, you know. It's a lot of, you know, just a lot of thinking about it, you know, and part of that comes from, you know, where I'm at with it, and part of it comes from people asking too, you know. So all I can do is try.
Well, let's see if we can help you out. I'll go warm up the other tire, okay? Hey, guys, we got to try and help Danica win her first race. So,
and you've got a lot more.
Is this how we do it? Right here.
Jack, you've got a lot more mass.
And I got a lot more to be able to warm.
That's exactly what we were saying.
So I'm able to warm the tire a lot more, guys. Yeah. She's going to have good grip on the left front.
All right.
Guys.
Thanks a lot, Jack. We'll check back with you in just a moment. And, of course, Danica, earlier this year, we had Elio with Dancing with the Stars and his trophy. And, of course, the now famous swimsuit issue appearance by Danica in Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated contacted the team, and as soon as I heard about it, I was so pumped. I was like, call them back and tell them yes immediately, and I need to know when because I need to know when to be ready. I do what every normal girl would do, and she knows that she's going to put a bathing suit on, except that I knew that millions and millions of people were going to be looking at the pictures. So I worked out a lot. I was picky with what I ate. I cut out carbs at the very end, but I don't even think it made a difference, to be honest. My husband Paul was proud of his wife being a swimsuit model. I was proud of me being a swimsuit model.
So as we continue to look at the track out in turn number 4, and they're finishing up the process, you can see Tony Kanaan and Scott Dixon and Elio Castroneves have made their way around. They're checking the patchwork as well. I'm sure that gesture is, hey, I don't want to go sliding, because if I go sliding, it's up towards the wall. Gives us a chance to check in again with Jack Root. I think he has caught up with Michael Andretti.
Yeah, guys, and a lot of times we forget, and especially on this weekend we have the finale for Champ Car and, of course, the Indy cars here at Motegi, that this guy actually has served both capacities. He's raced here back in the Champ Car days, and now he's got cars in the field as an owner and part of Andretti Green Racing. Michael Andretti. Michael, what are your best memories about racing here, besides the Victory Tour?
Well, the Victory's always a nice one. You know, that's the one that stands out. But I don't know. I think the biggest thing that stands out is that the fans here in Japan are really behind it. They love racing, and you know, I think that's the biggest thing.
Bringing as many cars as you do each and every week, and across the continent, across the globe, the way we have here for this particular race, how daunting a task is that?
It's a big job, you know, and then to come here and now to be sitting and waiting for water that's seeping out of a track is so frustrating for sure for all of us. And I know a lot of people don't understand what, you know, they think the track's dry, should be able to go, but it'd be a very dangerous thing right now, and so they have to fix those weepers. But it's frustrating because of, you know, the effort it does take to get here, and for us especially because we're trying to make it back for the ALMS race, which will be 3:45 on Saturday. So we're gonna still try to make that, but it's every minute that goes by, it's not good.
Let's talk for a moment about this special weekend, unique as it is. Points being issued on both continents. Long Beach, the Champ Car finale, and then of course the IndyCar Series here. What's your take as a car owner on this compromise that was issued so that unification could take place?
Well, I think it's something that, it had to be done, and, it's just a temporary thing, and I think we were all 100% behind, the IRL for that decision because, the big picture was we had to get it together, and, we weren't going to let one event ruin that, so we as owners are 100% behind it.
Have you felt anything differently in the corporate boardroom since the unification has taken place, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. There's a buzz everywhere we go, and as I've been saying, the black cloud is lifted. The meetings don't start off with, what's going on when the two sides going to get together, So it's all positive now, and we can expose all the positive things that this sport has to offer. And I think we have the best product out there, and now we can really show people. And, I think I can't wait for the next few years. I think we're going to skyrocket.
Hey, Michael, Jimmy Vasser's come out of retirement. He's going to race on Sunday in the Champ Car finale. Maybe there's an extra panos there if you get there soon enough after the ALMS race. I understand that it didn't take long for Vasser to get up to speed. How long would it take for you? You've had a lot of good runs at Long Beach.
I love Long Beach, actually. In fact, that's where I won my last race. I won my first race and my last race of my career, and actually Jimmy finished second to me that day. But we'll leave that up to him. I'm a little older than him.
You're a little older?
Yeah, and I've been out of the car for a little bit longer than him, so I'm pretty happy right now.
All right, the smile on his face is not only as a car owner, but because his son Marco is ready to do it here in Motegi as well, guys.
All right, thanks, Jack. When he won in 2000, he started 8th. That is the farthest back a winner has started at Twin Ring, Motegi. And there is the egg-shaped layout here. The reason it's called Twin Ring, because there are actually 2 racetracks. In fact, there's a total of 4 if you look at the lower part of the screen. But here's what it takes to race across the world. 9 teams with 35 Dallara chassis. Go 6,400 air miles between Indianapolis and Tokyo on 2 Boeing 747 cargo planes. And of course, the time difference between Indianapolis and Tokyo is 13 hours. And there was just 11 days between the St. Pete race and Japan practice, and there's only 6 days between when we get done with business today in Japan and when we start practice next week in Kansas. So a mighty task for everybody, especially the crews that have to do all the packing and unpacking of all that equipment.
It's a tough life, of course. Well, we've already mentioned the outstanding IndyCar race from St. Petersburg last weekend. But also on that bill, as is the case this weekend at Long Beach, is a round of the American Le Mans Series. Round 2, in fact. We can check out the action from the Porsche perspective. Your commentator, Chris Shaw.
2 weeks on from the opening round of this year's American Le Mans Series at Sebring, round 2 gets underway. Again in Florida, but this time further north in St. Petersburg. After the long, wide-open and bumpy track at Sebring, this is a complete contrast. It's a mix of streets and a provincial airport taxiway, surrounded by concrete walls. Round 1 was judged a complete success, with the Penske Porsche team taking the overall victory, and with the number 7 RS Spider and Dyson Racing taking second place. With no test days being held here, the teams worked hard to plan as good a setup on the cars as possible before the start of the first 2 practice sessions. One of the other major differences here to that of the opening round is the race duration. St. Petersburg is the second shortest race duration of the 11 rounds this year, but regardless, on the concrete walled and tight roads, this is a favourite amongst many of the drivers.
Here it's a perfect street circuit. I like St. Pete, it's one of my favorite street circuits. And here it's completely different. We have a short race distance, only 1 hour 55 minutes. And where the strategy will be very important, because if you make one mistake, you will lose a lot of positions. And also in the street circuits, you have less space. Also in traffic, you need to be very patient, so it's totally different.
Yes, it's really nice. I mean, I think we have a good car normally on a street race. It's a good to have street race. It's good for the LMP2 class for sure. So we will see. I think we have a good package here.
There was disappointment at Sebring for Sasha Masson and Pat Long when their RS Spider unusually suffered overheating problems. So they're looking to St. Pete to restore their fortunes. And again, both drivers like this track, but know how easy it is for mistakes to be made.
It's a track situation that suits my driving style. You have to be very precise. You can't do any little mistake, so I like that. It's every mistake is penalized pretty heavy, and the walls always are right. So if you cannot argue with the walls, because they normally are right.
I enjoy street circuits a lot. I think they're my favorite type of course. Low grip, it means that there's a lot of equalizer there. As a driver, you have a lot more input, and there's many different ways to, so to speak, skin the cat or run different lines. So I like that. It's a thinking man's sport, and certainly it's tough with traffic here.
Having worked hard all through last year and through the winter to get fully to grips with their brand new RS Spyders, the effort paid off for the Dyson team as they celebrated on the podium after the first race. But that great moment is firmly behind them for now, as all the concentration is turned onto what they have to do here with the 16 car of Chris Dyson and Guy Smith and the 20 car of Butch Leitzinger and Marino Franchitti. Last year, the American Le Mans Series held its first ever race at St. Petersburg, so every team had to work out how their cars worked around here. And that puzzle was even harder for Dyson as they were about to start their second race with the Porsches. Arriving here for the second year, the task is much easier this time, and the baseline for the setups is far better right from the start, and that means the drivers can get straight down to getting the car going as fast as possible.
Dyson last year, they came here not only to a new track, completely to them, but with a brand new car. So another year down the line, I think we're much more in tune with what the car needs around here.
In the Penske camp, the team and drivers had been at the top of the practice times in both sessions until disaster struck when Romain Dumas was caught up in a crash of another car at the end of the last practice session. So the Penske team sprang into life, repairing the damage to the right rear of the number 7 car, and they got it all back together in time for the fast-paced Frenchman to go out and qualify. But the time lost in the practice session meant that they couldn't run through the rest of their practice schedule. And while they were able to qualify, the car wasn't quite how they would like to have prepared it. But regardless, Romain took it out and went fastest, taking the P2 class pole.
Yes, we had the accident before the qualify. The slower car spun in front of me and hit me and destroyed the rear of the car. They changed all the rear. They made really a big job. Fortunately, with the problem, we cannot set up more the car, and I think it cost the pole overall. But anyway, again, important is the class. It was a difficult lap because I was not so confident, but it was okay.
With a short race time and a tight racetrack, the start is even more critical here, and the drivers have thought long and hard how to deal with all eventualities.
I'm not sure we are going to be all bunched up at the start. It's going to be the most crucial moment of the race. The race is pretty short for our kind of driving, so we have to be definitely aware that there is going to be some incidents.
The Dyson team were very happy about their qualifying performance and hoping that they would repeat a podium finish once again. There was the threat of rain during the race, but as the clouds moved slowly overhead, the chances of a downpour were lessening as the start time drew ever nearer. With the drivers strapped into their cars, the signal was given to head out onto the first of 2 formation laps before the green flag would signal the start of the race. There was one P1 class Audi ahead of Timo Bernhard in the 7 Penske car at the start. Timo held his place into turn 1, but Sascha Maassen was knocked offline by contact with the Highcroft Acura and lost several places, and then set about getting them back again, one of them from the 16 Dyson RS Spider. But there was very bad news for the second Dyson car, which had been running well. Butch Leitzinger had contact with Pat Long in the number 6 Penske and spun. Then, while trying to turn around, he was clipped by Jörg Bergmeister in the GT2 car, and that brought out the safety cars. It was a very unfortunate incident. After the stricken Dyson was removed from the track, Romain Dumas led away the restart but couldn't hold off the faster P1 Audi as they came down the main straight. That left Romain Dumas second overall but still leading the P2 class. Pat Long was in 4th place in the number 6 Penske, and the 16 Dyson was in 5th place. Romain Dumas did get past the Audi, only to be passed by the former Penske Porsche driver Lucas Law again. And then time ran out as the checkered flag came out. But it was still another P2 class win for the Porsche RS Spider and vital championship points. It was close at the end, and the safety car periods did shake up everyone's race several times. Pat Long did finish fourth, with Guy Smith's Dyson behind him.
Well, it seems that as long as the Audis and the Porsches are running, it's always one or the other, but it was a good, clean race for those guys. Lucas, obviously, is a great driver, drove for us last year for the Audi team. They deserve it, and overall, pretty good day for us.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice race. Push all the time, like always. A great move on the Audi. I overtook him by outside. I mean, I was sure that the race was over and we will win. Unfortunately, the safety car came out and killed our race, but it's like that. We don't have to forget we won the overall. It's good for Audi. They win the race, and it's good for everybody, I think.
The next challenge is another street circuit and an even shorter race as the American Le Mans Series heads to Long Beach in California.
Another Audi diesel win then, and we'll have the result from Long Beach in California in just a moment, but first we'll take a break. Before the break, we saw the St. Petersburg round of the ALMS, the American Le Mans Series, and we were chatting during the break, of course, about the growth of ALMS and how popular it's now become pretty much globally, Paul.
Yes, ALMS is a little bit like Champ Car and Indy Car. There was a sort of breakaway where Grand Am went one direction and Sports Car went in another. They've now, whilst Grand Am has still grown, there's a lot of teams fielding cars in both series, and IMSA, the old name from the 70s and 80s, has been brought back, and under that banner and stewardship, Scott Atherton and the Panos Elan Motorsports Group running that, they really have invested heavily in it, and the series is without a doubt one of America's top attractions now.
It's a real, for me, nuts and bolts kind of a sport. There's a lot of very, very enthusiastic people that know a hell of a lot about it. It's a real fans formula.
It is. Sports car racing has always, I suppose, been regarded, certainly in American circles, as the road racing purist series. Great history all the way through 60s and 70s, you know, back to the Cobras and Porsche 917s. And you've now got Audi, Porsche, Acura, the Honda brand, battling it out as full factory efforts. And it's got a lot of crossover with IndyCar. We've got Andretti Greenfield cars in ALMS. Penske have the factory Porsches. Bobby Rahal's got a team that's going to bring in BMWs next year. And of course they run with IndyCar at quite a lot of races sharing the bill. Saturday ALMS, Sunday IndyCar. They complement each other, and it's really making a great road racing stronghold for America.
Ethanol in IndyCar and diesel winning in ALMS. It's diesel, certainly, considering it is really the fuel of the past, happens to be the fuel of the future at the moment. And it's really, really, in British touring cars we're seeing it, everybody complaining about how strong diesel cars are, and out in ALMS it's stronger still.
Well, anybody who's hit a London taxi will realise how strong a diesel is, but in America you have to remember that diesel, as far as they're concerned, is truck fuel. They don't have diesel cars. Many moons ago we went over there and the only diesel cars would perhaps be a few sort of imported Renaults and Peugeots from an era that they no longer embrace. Now they're suddenly waking up to the fact that we've got to use diesel. It's higher for the gas mileage, while somebody wakes up and then comes up with the new fuel. They're gambling on ethanol, but it's wreaking havoc with their corn prices. So diesel's there, and Audi are taking it hook, line and sinker and shoving it into them, because Audi's market in America is a huge market. If they bring over diesel cars, they will have a fantastic sale.
And how big will ALMS potentially become, do you feel, as far as the series is concerned? Will we see a lot more of it?
I think it's you know, it's been around for 10 years. It had a period of immediate growth at the turn of the century, and it had a lot of factory support, and then it lost it again. And I think the way it's grown now is a stronger platform for long-term success. And yes, I think it has a place, you know, long-term in American motorsport.
Well, as we mentioned, the series continues this week at Long Beach, and indeed ALMS has just announced a 3-year extension to race on the California Street Circuit as well. That race will run today, and here are the top 10 starting positions. Timo Bernhard then, Luis Diaz, David Brabham, Patrick Long, Christian Fittipaldi, Lucas Luhr, Emanuele Pirro, of course, Guy Smith, the Brit, Butch Leitzinger and Ben Devlin are your top 10. But right now, let's go back to Japan and we can hear from some of the top drivers, starting with Tony Kanaan.
Tony Kanaan now out in front. He will take advantage of the fuel strategy and he will win it. The 2004 IndyCar Series champ back in victory lane as he wins at Twin Ring Motegi. Tony Kanaan, a fan favorite in Japan.
And if you remember that win from last year, it was his excellent fuel mileage. He was getting 3 to 4 laps better than everybody else, including Dan Weldon, who led the vast majority of laps last year, but came up short to Tony Kanaan. In fact, let's check in and see what the strategy might be this year. Jack Arute.
Well, first, Marty, let's find out what the strategy and the assessment by the drivers that went out into the Weeper area is. Tony Kanaan was one of those drivers that rode. What was your impression, and what did you tell the officials?
It looked pretty wet still, Jack, and they're doing everything they can. I mean, the league is doing a superb job, but we had a lot of water in the last day or so, so it's still, I didn't feel comfortable saying we could start this race. Obviously, it's not just my decision. Scott was there with me, Elliot was there, and so they're trying to dry up a little more. I think it's, maybe half an hour or so they can get it done, and then we can get this race started.
Let's talk a little bit about the last time you and I visited, and that, of course, was after the disappointment at Homestead, when it looked like you had one in the bag on a 1.5-mile racetrack, came up short when you got tangled up with a spinning car, and you reminded me of what the outcome was at the end of the season. Is this a Tony Kanaan that, like that season, is going to race for the points championship?
Oh, for sure. I think I've done that. I try to do that every season since 2004, which was, it seems to be the key. After I won the championship, everybody did the same. So it is a points championship. Obviously, you got to try to make most points out of it. And a day like today, I do feel like we have a good car, especially in the 1.5-mile ovals. And if we can win, we will win. If not, we'll settle for whatever we can take.
Now, points are being awarded to the IndyCar regulars here. The transition drivers are now competing in the Champ Car finale on Sunday at Long Beach. I'm going to be there, and I understand that in terms of issuing points, you had some observations earlier this week. What were they?
Well, I said, can I do both? As you guys gonna, you making it. All my team owners are gonna make it. So I said, we'll do it Saturday here, and then we'll do Sunday over there. So I guess, thank God I'm not doing that because, it's. I don't think we're going to get it done on time so I could catch a flight. But, I think it's fair. But, some guys, I said it might be easier to be in Long Beach, but I look at the field. I thought about it, and then I looked at the field in St. Pete with all those Champ Car guys. I said, you know what? I think we're both having a tough time.
Yeah, you just wanted a day off. You wanted where it was easy pickings. I understand.
I just want to hang in the sunshine. That's all.
Where is it?
Not here in California, I'm saying.
There you go. Hey, guys, we're both on our way.
All right, if you've noticed, Dan Weldon, he's got a new look. He also has a new bride. And while we're still waiting for the Weepers to get dried out, let's take you back and explain what's happened during the offseason to Dan Weldon.
I guess it's been a big off-season for me. I think first and foremost I got engaged to Susie Bem, who I've known for a long time, so that's very exciting.
I remember meeting him. I mean, I think he was definitely very charming.
I mean, if we're telling the truth here, like I have and have had the reputation as a bit of a playboy. I shouldn't say a bit, probably a playboy. When I say that she knows everything, there's not anything that she does not know about me.
It's nice when you can kind of be with someone that's seen every side of you, the worst part about you and the best part, and still wants to stick around. It's really comforting.
It's amazing when you meet that person, like what happens to you. It totally changes your perceptions and your views on a lot of different things.
Dan came in interested in having some dental work done. We found out that he was very unhappy with the way his smile looked and wanted to improve it.
I've always had that tooth that was here that kind of stuck out more than the others. My buddies call it snaggle tooth. Dr. Resnick asked me when the last time I had seen a dentist was, and I said something like 1990. Dentists are never in an English person's radar, to tell you the truth.
Every tooth was touched, which is extremely rare. A combination of root canal treatment, crowns, and veneers allowed us to make his teeth look as if he had had 2 years of orthodontics in about 3 weeks.
It's painful. It really is painful. So that was after, I think I probably spent over 30 hours in the chair. Now, the new Dan for 08 is... We're here at Homestead Miami Speedway. This is the home of Dan Weldon, I guess you would say.
Dan Weldon here tonight. Want to make history. He will cruise to his 3rd consecutive win at Homestead Miami Speedway.
I think this is a great place to be for the IndyCar Series, starting off the season. For me in particular, I've won the last 3 races here, so we could break some records and score a 4th. Whenever you're racing at the pinnacle of any sport, you want to break records, and that sure would be a record that I would love to have.
Well, Dan Weldon, by the way, has had success here at Motegi, Japan. In fact, Dan, when he was driving for Andretti Green Racing, delivered to Honda their first ever victory at a racetrack that is built by Honda. Come on, smile. I want to see those choppers. If you spent that amount of time in the doctor's chair, how are they working out for you?
Well, see, I know Chip Ganassi is watching, and we had to do something special for him in the off-season and target. So, I thought maybe we'd do the teeth, and then I got married to my beautiful wife. So it's been an entertaining off-season, but we're all about the race here. This is a racetrack that I love. It's particularly special to me because I won my first IndyCar Series race here, and I've been associated with Honda now. This might show my age, but I've been associated with Honda for 6 seasons, and it's a tough track. It's very challenging, I think.
What makes it so tough, Dan? What makes it so difficult?
Well, the compromising the downforce level. Turns 3 and 4 are incredibly fast and tight, so that the car really is on edge there, and it's about making sure that you have a good balance throughout that stint, and you can't have too much push in the car because otherwise you're not going to get through there flat out, or as close to flat out as you can, and you don't want push either because you're going to understeer. So it's what makes it a great track. This is probably my second favorite track to Indianapolis, and I just want to race.
Let's talk a little bit, though. We've been concentrating on the weepers as all of us have been waiting a delayed start, but the wind has been gusting pretty good here, too. When you're in the cockpit of the car, with the way the wind is kicking up here, how does it affect the way you drive?
It doesn't. I mean, you've got to bear that in mind, certainly. And the biggest thing that I found around here, and the thing that seems to make me good is the fact that I can drive in very deep to the corner, and if you can do that and be off the power for as little as possible, the wind has a little effect. When you start having to lift a lot and then get back to the power hard, it really does have an effect. But if you can drive it in, like Chip says, 100%, you're good to go.
I got to tell you, more and more you're starting to look like Austin Powers. Why don't you just say Shagalicious?
Shagalicious, baby.
There you go, guys.
And while we've got a moment, let's check in on what happened with Scott Dixon. If you remember, it was not a great end to the 07 campaign.
It literally all comes down to this. As it runs right now, Scott Dixon has enough points to win the 2007 IndyCar Series Championship.
I've never actually seen the end of this.
Scott Dixon is out in front. Dario Franchitti is third.
When you're in the situation fighting for the championship, you just want to stay in that front pack and, save fuel.
Scott has been told that they cannot go the rest of the way under green if he's leading.
But this was the bad part, when nobody would want to lead. I was lifting this whole time, out front, just trying to get somebody to go past me. Here you're just trying to save fuel. You know you've got no fuel left.
This is a 2-car shootout for the championship.
This is the last lap, right? Sucks seeing this again. That's the first time I watched it.
Oh, Dixon's out of fuel!
You just can't believe that it came down that close. You're talking a very small amount of fuel to get to the end. I think almost less than a half a can of beer. It's just so frustrating to see how close that start-finish line was. I'm just glad it came down to such a fight just for everybody, last lap, last corner. you don't see that very often. If losing the championship last year taught me anything, it was to make sure I've got enough gas, no matter what I'm driving. I've been interested in flying for quite a while now. I think there's a couple of trips to New Zealand where I went flying with friends. But then the final thing to put the nail in the coffin was my wife buying me a learn to fly package for my birthday last year. That's where it all got started. When you're first starting to learn and everything, it is a bit daunting with a lot of things that you have to try and do and concentrate and then talk on the radio, especially in small planes. Everybody has a perception of how dangerous they are, but I don't think they're that dangerous. It's just that, it's the same in an Indy car. If, say a wheel falls off, it's nothing you can control, but it's just as dangerous. There we have it. Pretty uneventful, which is always nice on a plane.
And Scott Dixon, there he is looking at the monitors. You see his best finish last year here at Twin Ring Motegi. He has not won here, 4th being his best last season. And obviously like to move up about 3 more spots to the top rung on the podium. He may get that chance if we can get the Weepers. And let's check in with Jack Rudy. He has caught up with Scott Dixon.
Well, here's the IndyCar driver and one-time pilot flying all over New Zealand. And Scott, what I think a lot of people that fly airplanes would like to know is, are there any similarities between driving an IndyCar and flying an airplane?
I guess there's some. You've got quite a few different things going on. With flying, you're always, looking out for the weather and different conditions that are going on. You're talking on the radio all the time. So multitasking, I guess, is similar. But as far as, trying to get to places quicker and maybe taking risks, that's one similarity that's not really there. So, but for me, it's a lot of fun. It keeps your mind going, and that's why I found it interesting.
What's your airspeed in that little airplane that you fly?
Well, they say 235 knots, but it's more about 190 knots, so it gets going.
So it's basically you're running faster on the ground than you fly in the air.
Yeah, it's pretty close, actually. I'd say around Indy, that'd be about the same speed.
Let's talk a little bit about this racetrack. They call it the paperclip. When you go down into turn 1 and 2, it's dramatically different than the way you go into 3 and 4. And how so?
Well, 1 and 2, I think, it's quite easy to go flat, but you're carrying a lot of speed. And with the configuration that we run here, the car is very light on downforce. So, you carry a lot of speed down the back straight, and you get into turns 3 and 4, it's very tight. It's almost similar to Phoenix, not on the same scale, but we run bigger wings at Phoenix. But it's a very challenging circuit, probably one of the toughest ovals I've ever had to race on, and it's caught me out a few times.
One thing that happens, we flew over together, is it's the time change and the body clock having to adjust to things. You finally get your body clock adjusted. You're supposed to have already maybe been halfway through this race, and you're still sitting waiting for it. How difficult is that mentally for a driver?
I will say this year, for me, it's been a little easier. Last year I had my wife, Emma, here, and she was up at 3 o'clock every morning, and she'd just get up on the computer. So I must say hi to her. She's back home watching. But, I've slipped into it pretty easy. We came late this year. We came in Wednesday night, and, we were practicing in the car Thursday morning. But you can only do your best, and once you get in the car, the adrenaline takes over anyway, and you're fully focused.
Scott, good luck.
Thanks, man.
Guys.
Lovely bloke there, Scott Dixon. Of course, the question that was asked of him, what's the difference between IndyCar racing and flying? If you run out of fuel in a plane, then you do have a definite problem, Tim. Now then, Paul, I've got to bring this one to you, seeing as you're our aesthetic beauty here at the moment. Those teeth of Dan Weldon, what are they about?
I should think they're about $55,000. As I understand, he's got them primarily for the night races, where if he smiles, he's going to get a little glare and it'll help in the cockpit. So I think he just wanted to sharpen up his act. So let's say it's a little palatable.
He was fast enough, but they just wanted to pretty him up a little. As Dan Weldon then going all California on us with the brightest of whitest teeth, unlike mine, I'm ashamed to say at the moment. But we'll take another short break. Plenty more still to come here. We'll be looking back to the round 1 of the series at Homestead in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. No action today from Motegi because of water seeping up through the track surface after heavy rain, but we can now bring you highlights of the opening round of the series from Miami in Homestead.
Well, Dan Weldon is the man to beat here this evening, despite the fact that he's won 3 in a row in dominating fashion. In fact, last year he led 89% of the laps. However, he crashed in qualifying yesterday, and if he's going to win his 4th straight, which would set a record for the Indy Racing League, he's going to have to go from the back of the pack through a lot of inexperienced drivers to get it done. But don't worry, he's come from the back of the pack before. He wasn't a champion for no reason that he couldn't drive a race car.
For the 4-peat tonight, though, guys, he's going to have to start in the back of the pack because of a problem during qualifications last night. The car steps out, and all of a sudden, Dan Weldon finds himself getting a concrete encounter here at Miami Homestead Speedway. For Dan Weldon, though, it's an opportunity that will not go unnoticed. Dan, you'll find yourself in the back of the pack. Where do you want to be after lap 10 tonight?
Well, under the boss's instructions, I'm not allowed to be the usual Dan. I have to take it very slow and very patiently, and you know that's what I do. I obviously got to thank everybody on the number 9 car and the number 10 car for working together to get me back out in the spare car with the Honda engine in. But we definitely had a very fast race car yesterday, and I'm sure with the way the guys have put this one together, it was going to be good too. So we'll just take it one step at a time. But you know, I would hope to be up the front relatively quickly.
They're still strung out, but apparently they're going to go green. This is one messy start, but they're going to drop the green flag.
Yes, the first race of the 2008 season, Champ Car and Indy, of course, are reunited. Let's see how Dan gets on.
Danica's on the low line.
Well, you heard the spotter tell Dixon where Danica was. You also saw them go 3 wide at one point.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of sparks. Those sparks are skid plate underneath the chassis. They're full load of fuel, so they're heavier now than they're going to be, as heavy as they're going to be all night long. So they're going to bottom out a little bit for the first few laps.
Riding with Weldon from the back of the pack. He's up to about 18th position now.
He's just taking the high line, taking guys one at a time as he gets to them. And you can see he said he was going to be up at 10th in the first 2 laps. He's not going to make it that far, but he sure passed a lot of cars.
Yes, Weldon going well. Scott Dixon, his teammate, in the lead from Danica Patrick and Tony Kanaan in the early running here. And let's also watch out for Justin Wilson making his IndyCar debut in the McDonald's car.
Buddy Rice is down 11th. Ed Carpenter has moved around his teammate. He is up to 12th. A.J. Foyt is 13th. There is Justin Wilson, one of the rookies, by far the tallest of our drivers and the heaviest.
Right, and he's running in 16th right now, doing a very nice job. He had one incident during practice yesterday where he got behind the car, took the air off the front wings, and the car wiggled on him. He did a great job. So he knows what to, he knows kind of what to expect here on this oval track racing with when people are cutting you in front of you and taking that air off your wing. And he did a good job hanging on with the car yesterday.
Marco Andretti is leading the parade right now over Scott Dixon and Dan Weldon. Weldon back in 3rd. We'll take a look at that pass for Tony Kanaan as he goes around Castro and Evans. They've gotten together early in the racetrack. And you just stick your nose down under and keep your foot in it and go on by.
Yeah, he just got a big run off him, off the corner. Went down to the inside and went around.
It was about 4 or 5 laps ago, and that was 4th position. So Kanaan now is 4th. You're right along with Helio back there in 5th position. And a yellow on the racetrack.
Well, I'm sure they all would have liked to have seen that happen
a couple of laps earlier.
But uh-oh.
Melcaduno.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Briscoe's also involved.
Wow, that's
okay?
Second yellow of the evening. Melcaduno and Briscoe get tangled up. Looking at Milka Duno's Sitco entry, and there is the Team Penske Ryan Briscoe entry. Those two got together on lap 127 to bring out the second yellow of the evening.
Wow.
Well, we'll see if we have a replay that can show us exactly what happened. He's climbing out.
Yeah, he's sitting a long way from her. If they got together, then she went for a ways before the thing.
There's Roger Penske looking at the monitor to see if we can come up with a replay here of what happened. She loses it by herself and gets into Briscoe.
Yeah. So
comes up the racetrack and clips his left rear.
Nothing he could do about that. Yeah,
wrong spot, wrong time.
That's the reason they were so far apart on the racetrack. I didn't see the incident. I wasn't even sure they actually made contact because they were so far away. He's cleared halfway down the back straightaway.
Laps to go, 190 laps now complete. Make that 191, 9 laps to go, and right now the gap between first and second, 1.8 seconds. And the usual suspects are up in front.
Yeah, Tony Kanaan took advantage of a great pit stop there that last time in. And he's just run a good race. He ran a good race. Remember, on the very start, he moved right through the pack to take the lead. And hasn't been the fastest guy on the racetrack all race long, but he certainly was at the beginning of the race. And right now, he's got a good enough lead that he doesn't even need to be the fastest guy on the racetrack.
Well, he just needs to be smart and consistent, and that won't be a problem for Tony.
No.
As we said, we kind of anticipated, I think Andretti Green anticipated he was going to be the yellow on the racetrack. Another crash. Vizo.
I saw something fly out from underneath one of the cars going past, and I started saying, uh-oh. Kanaan.
Well, Kanaan is into something.
Oh, my gosh. Man.
Well, what did I say about Weldon not winning this thing unless something unusual happened?
What a tough break for Tony Kanaan.
What did Kanaan get into? A piece that came off Vizo's car?
Obviously.
Let's take a look again. There's Vizo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and he drives into it.
Man, look at this. I'm shocked he had that thing that far sideways and was able to save the car.
He almost missed it. He almost got by.
He had that thing completely sideways, just like you see on a dirt track, trying to miss that.
There's his wife looking on, and can you believe that?
Wow.
It's curious. We thought we'd have trouble early in the race.
Well,
and we just talked about,
we just spoke too soon about how the new drivers.
Oh.
Well.
Kanaan says he's going to stay out as long as he can on the radio. I think IndyCar Series may be showing the black flag.
Yeah, I mean, he can't restart the race like this.
He doesn't have to pit, and can this thing finish under yellow? It can. We've got just over 5 laps to go, and they're probably.
No, I don't. Yeah.
George, we're not going to finish this race. Yeah, just stay out there.
Well, this creates quite a dilemma for the drivers behind him because they don't know what's going to happen. If he, I mean, obviously he's.
Is that Tony's voice that go on the outside?
Yeah, he's going to stay at the bottom. He's telling him to go to the outside. But if he can stay out there to the end, then he's going to end up
in the top 10 anyway.
He's going to end up.
Have you ever seen this happen?
No.
Black flag is being displayed for number 11.
We got a race to the end here. Ready to go. We got Marco 20 back.
Wow.
Well, so Dixon is the leader. Marco is second. Weldon third.
Marco, 2 laps to go. Go get him.
3 laps to go, and you heard him say, Marco, go get him.
Yeah. See, well, Kanaan picked up the throttle. He went way up the racetrack. Everybody behind him was everybody behind him was trying to figure out what was going to happen. But he got back out of the throttle, went back to the bottom seat, out of everybody's way. And he almost caused a problem there because they didn't know which way he was going to go, to the top or to the bottom.
White flag, 1 lap to go for Dixon. Of course, he won here in 2003. He almost won the IndyCar Series Championship, except for about a half glass of fuel last year at Chicagoland. Lost the championship on the final turn of the final lap to Franchitti when he ran out of fuel. But he's going to win this thing here tonight at Homestead.
Yeah, no question about it. He did a terrific job.
Nice job, Nate.
Nice job, Nate.
Good job, Bob.
So Marco takes second. Weldon could not do the 4 in a row. He finishes third. Castronevic is fourth.
Welcome back. As you've just seen, round 1 to Team Ganassi, driver Scott Dixon, but appalling luck for Tony Kanaan and a good run for Dan Weldon. Let's move across to St. Petersburg, close to Tampa for round 2, and a very different circuit. Street action coming up. The race started in the rain under a course car, so we'll pick it up at lap 10 as the race went green.
You can see the spray now has been minimized, the visibility much better. A little ponding right there through the center of that Bayshore Drive, but that's out of the groove.
Wow. It's be interesting to see how long they run the dry or the wet tires before they start making pit stops.
Yeah, because they say once they go dry, those tires are good for what, maybe 4 laps, 5 laps?
Yeah, and once they get on the gas, once they're out there racing, 26 cars out there, going to dry this racetrack, dry the groove pretty quickly.
So we may see some very early pit stops. They're going to complete 10 laps now before we go green. So 10 laps under the yellow as we get the green flag as they come off. Oh, the way a spin.
Ryan Hunter-Reay.
That was Ryan Hunter-Reay. Got on the throttle and spun coming off that last corner. So the yellow, the green is out. They brought the green out anyway, despite that spin coming off the fourth corner, the last corner.
Wow, you can see how the spray affects it. It gets everywhere. Will Power taking it very easy there. Lost a spot down there in turn number 1. Justin Wilson looks pretty aggressive. He's been aggressive all weekend long, but he's also run off the track 2 or 3 times. Hasn't really tore his race car up, but he has been off course a couple of times over the weekend.
The only driver that likes the position he's in right now is Tony Kanaan, because he has open track in front of him.
He's got the perfect spot, so.
Wilson rides in second, Will Power is third, then Castronevic, then Briscoe is fifth, sixth is Servia, seventh is Weldon, eighth is Rahal, ninth is Manning, and 10th now is Dixon. So Dixon moved up 3 spots already.
So he did get a good start, was pretty aggressive back there, and that's pretty much what you would expect. He said that he was not going to do that, but you know what he is.
We'll go back and show you a replay of that start. We saw the spin coming off that last corner as Ryan Hunter-Reay picks up the throttle, and you'll watch him go around.
Yep, just on the throttle too hard. And you can see a couple of the other cars up in front of him did a little wiggle. There's Will Power. He did a little wiggle. The other guys pinched it down. Justin Wilson pinched it down, trying to get out of that spray and trying to get an advantage.
What you're also going to find, Larry, is once this track dries out, you're going to find some drivers looking for some wet spots to keep the tires cool.
Well, that's right. Until they get a chance to get in and get
the slicks on.
So it's going to be a very opportune time for a few, but most of these guys up front. Here we see Carpenter. He's had problems in pretty much the same spot coming off that paperclip corner onto the main straightaway.
And he's one of the drivers with the least amount of experience out here on a road course. He came out of midgets and sprint cars on short dirt and paved ovals. And here is Carpenter. Replay the last lap. Same thing. Just picked up the throttle. The rear end jumped out on him.
Wow, looks like everybody did a great job. That's a position where everybody did a great job to miss him, because he was right in the middle of the racetrack. As slick as it was, it would have been very easy to jerk that wheel and spin themselves and run right into it.
So the Penske cars are right together on the racetrack in 4th and 5th position. Castronevic, a 2-time winner here in Briscoe, in the 5th position. We mentioned that Briscoe has been with their sports car team several years. And in Indianapolis last year at the 500, he actually ran a car that was a satellite program. Danica's in trouble.
Yep,
there's a local yellow only. This is a local yellow only. Danica, who starts at the back of the pack, did not qualify all that well.
Will Power gets too hot into the corner. He's going to lose 1, maybe 2 spots.
spot to Castro-Neves, but held on to keep Briscoe behind him. So Castro-Neves moves to 3rd position.
So it just shows you how very careful you have to be in those braking zones not to go in there too hard, because once you get those wheels sliding, I mean, they don't work at all. I mean, they're just sliding. You actually feel like pickup speed until you can get that thing stopped and back on the brakes.
Well, and sometimes in a road course, Larry, you have to overdrive your car to overtake somebody else. You really can't do it here, because if that guy makes a mistake, you're going to collect it.
Well, that's right. And we saw in some of the preliminary races yesterday, at least one instance where a guy followed the guy in front of him right into the corner, and they both crashed just simply because the guy up front was way too fast and missed the corner.
So Kanaan continues to lead this thing over Wilson. Castro-Neves is 3rd. Power is 4th. Briscoe rides in the 5th position. 6th is Serbia. Then it's Rahal, Andretti, Weldon, and Manning rounding out the top 10. Dixon now has dropped back to 11th. Vieira is now in the 12th position. Vizo is 13th. Mira is 14th. Junqueira, who started dead last, has now moved up to 22nd position, so he's picked up 4 spots. That was a replay a couple of laps back of Danica Patrick.
Right, she's out going again. She just, too hot into the corner. Luckily, there was no contact. I think that was Jay Howard that missed her right there.
Well, also, these safety vehicles have a starter on board that can refire these cars.
Right. I don't think she killed the engine. I think she just needed somebody to push her backwards so she could make the turn and get out of there. So she's back going. Did not lose a lap. It doesn't. Well, she did lose a lap, so she's 1 lap down now already. So that's a tough break for her.
Well, back up in front, you see the gap between 1st and 2nd, and another spin. That's Marco Andretti.
Wow, that's a tough break for
Marco
him.
Marco had been in 8th position and moving up, so Marco now anxiously awaiting somebody, seeing beaten on the steering wheel, wanting some help to get turned around.
Yeah, and you're gonna understand.
Oh, and look at this, number 19, also a problem. Maurice is in trouble.
All right,
so we've got a full course yellow.
And that might have been a contact between those 2 drivers that caused that. So it's a full course yellow. You can see Marco telling them, "Get me going, back me up so I can get going here," because he did not want to lose that lap. So I don't think Danica did lose a lap. She was almost to lose a lap. She almost lost the whole lap, but she did manage to stay on the lead lap with everybody else, which is a big break for her.
We're showing Patrick back in 25th position after her problem, and there's a look at the top 5 after 14 laps.
Welcome back. No racing in Motegi today, so we look back at round 2 and pick it up in the closing stages.
Well, we've had 6 yellow periods. That's the most ever, eclipsing the 5 we had back in 05. We've had 28 laps of caution, which is the most we've ever had here. We've had 7 different leaders, which is the most. Now, Larry, you and I have been discussing whether Ray Hall could go the distance. Well, we only have, what, 5.5 minutes to go.
5.5
1 lap to go.
I can promise you he's not going to stop. He's going to run out of gas maybe, but he's not going to stop.
Look at the clouds. At this point. That is off to the east of us, so hopefully we'll be okay to finish this thing. Yeah, he's not going to stop, but let's see what he can do to hold on Castro-Neves on the restart. The restart may be Elio's last chance.
Well, it's going to be, it's going to be very interesting because Elio was running faster than Ray Hall, but Ray Hall now
make that car real wide.
Well, and with even though he's got a lot of laps on that car, with as many yellows as we have, every extra yellow lap, flag lap we get, it just helps him that much more conserve fuel. So I'm sure he's got that fuel turned down as lean as he thinks he can run it, and still run. So it's going to be interesting. They're only going to have about 4 laps to go when they get the green, maybe less than that. So
probably 3 laps to go when they get the green.
Probably 3. I'm a little surprised that, if Hunter Ray doesn't run out, then he's not going to run out because Hunter Ray's got 4 more laps on his.
Hunter Ray's staying out there.
Yeah, he stayed out. So they're both gambling that all these yellow flag laps will give them enough fuel to finish the race.
So we have the youngest driver in the race at the age of 19 leading this thing. We have the 2-time defending champion, Elio Castro-Neves, right behind young Graham Rahal.
How would it be to win your first ever Indy car race?
might find out in victory lane here shortly.
Yep, and he took off real early.
Oh, boy, he didn't waste any time.
Castroneves is set back there. Oh, they both got a little bit high that time.
He
Castroneves
wanted to get on the throttle, not give Castroneves a chance to outbrake him.
Green flag.
Well, that was a smart move on his part. He picked it up way. Oh!
Smoked the brakes.
Smoked her that time. Got a little high. Castroneves right on his wing right now. So
Well, at the age of 19, he's still a veteran race driver. He's still got a lot of road race experience.
Hunter Ray's still out there. Viso all over him. Kanan right behind him. Kanan, like he said earlier, he wants to finish the race first and think about points. But
there's Daddy Bobby.
It looks like Hunter Ray is holding up those two guys right behind him. So they're both going to be very anxious to get around him.
I've got to believe that Bobby right now is pulling more for his son than for his driver.
Wow, and right now, unless, you know, if he doesn't run out of fuel, he's going to be very difficult to beat. Castroneves, he outsmarted Castroneves on the restart.
And you know what? If he wins this thing, the highest praise will come from Helio Castroneves.
Yep. I mean, he got on the throttle very early and just kind of caught Castroneves by surprise.
They've got to hold him for another 3 laps, I would think, because they're running laps at just over a minute per lap.
Yep. So
they qualified yesterday at 1 minute and 2 seconds, a minute and 3 seconds. So they slowed down the race trim to about 1 minute and 5 seconds.
Hunter Ray is still out there, so that means it looks like Ray Hall. I didn't see any way he was going to make it to the end, but I guess they were smarter than I was. I didn't think he could do it, but evidently he can.
Well, will the white flag come out this time? Well, you have 2 more laps to go.
You still have 2 laps to go, I'm pretty sure. And he's pulling away from Castroneves.
Yeah, he's got over a half-second lead.
So Kanan has gotten around Viso, so he's moved into 4th. So, wow.
2 laps to go, and look at the gap. He's pulled away.
He was conserving fuel. That's the reason Castroneves was gaining a half second a lap. And here comes Kanan into 3rd as he gets under Hunter Ray.
So Kanan gets to 3rd position. The white flag will come out the next time by. But look at the gap he has over Castroneves. Of course, he has a lighter fuel load as well. The car's lighter.
There's no way, if he doesn't run out of fuel, that he's going to get beat on this.
Or if he makes a mistake.
Well, he could make a mistake. I don't think that'll happen either. He's a smart young man.
What a story this will make, Larry.
Oh, man. What
a story. The youngest driver in the race, 19 years of age. 3rd generation driver who crashed heavily at Homestead, Miami, and did not even race last week. To come out here, began this race in 9th position.
Wow. Unbelievable, really. White flag out this time by.
Here's the white flag. 1 lap to go. Did we see the white flag? There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Paul Blevins out of Riverside, California.
Hunter Ray just ran out of fuel.
And there's Carpenter bringing out the local yellow.
Hunter Ray just ran out of fuel. So we'll see.
Well, but he has 4 more laps than he was out there 4 more laps than Ray Hall.
Well, it's still going to be very, very close. But Castroneves is just really, he just run away from him. There's not even
now
close.
Castroneves is down almost 3 seconds back.
Yeah. And you can bet that he's not giving, he knows that Hunter Ray just ran out of fuel, so he's taking it very easy as he can on that fuel load.
You see Carpenter out of the way there.
I think Bobby even almost smiled right there as he...
That's not often you see that, is it?
No.
Here it is. We're going to make history.
Yep.
Here it is.
Very first
He can run out of fuel right now. Let's watch Bobby on the right. He can run out of fuel. Dual checkered flags from Paul Blevins. And look at this. We have made history. Graham Rahal, at the age of 19, has won here on the streets of St. Petersburg.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
And that is the Newman Haas Lanigan team that came over from Champ Car, the Champ Car World Series. Castro Nevitz will take third. Is he out of fuel? Or is he just celebrating? Kanine will take third. Vizo fourth. Rinaldi is now in fifth. So 3 of the top 5, actually Muto. Let's go down to hear from Bobby Rahal.
Guys, Bobby, describe the feelings of a father to see his son do what you did so many times.
Fantastic. You know, and he had up and down. He got hit and spun. The dude was doing great in the rain. Got up to third, and what a job! And for their team, it's been a struggle the last couple of weeks. And to come out like this, especially after last week at Homestead, not being able to race, and then to come here like this, wow.
How tough was it for you as a dad counseling your son after the disappointment of 1 week ago?
You know, he's a pretty cool customer, and I don't know if I kind of told him, but I never once felt that he was remorseful or that he was regretful. You know, it happens, and you just learn from it. And all I can say is I think that's the first of many.
What are you going to say to him?
You join us back in the studio. We hope you've enjoyed it so far today. Of course, it's been a bit of a mix and match, but plenty of information coming from the tracks, and we've had a bit of a time to review the first 2 rounds of the series as well for the new unified Indy Racing series. Paul, 2 completely different tracks, 2 completely different sets of conditions. Graham Rahal taking his first ever win. Pretty good stuff, I think, from Florida.
I think what you can say is the first round at Homestead gave us a typical IndyCar result, and the second round at St. Pete gave us a typical Champ Car result. And I think that's setting the tone for this season. There's going to be a lot of work needed to be done by the Champ Car teams to get up to speed on the ovals, especially with this equipment that they've got. Principally, the Champ Car teams haven't run on ovals for over 5 years now, with the exception of Milwaukee. And once you lose that sort of data and you get out of touch with it, those little things that make the difference between 230 mile an hour and 229, that's what you need to move forward. So, excuse me, it's going to take a long time for them to get up to speed, but in the winter I'm sure they'll be swapping and buying engineers from other teams, and before you know where you are, it'll all be status quo. But as I say, it's moving together, and that is the most important thing.
So 2009 then, Tim, we should see some of the Champ Car teams threatening for this championship. Perhaps Graham Rahal has fired a shot across everybody's bows, albeit on a street circuit, of course, but a lot to look forward to in this series.
Absolutely, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it evolves. As you say, you know, Newman Haas, they're a great team. They're going to be competitive on every street course we go to, every road course we go to, with Justin Wilson, of course, Britt, as well as Graham Rahal. But the oval, to win this championship, you have to be good everywhere, and that's the great thing about the variety of the IndyCar series. You've got to be good on the ovals, the long ovals, the short ovals, the road courses, everything. And it will take until 2009 until they're title contenders, as they learn the tricks. Catching up 5 years on the big teams on these 1.5 mile ovals and so forth. Indianapolis is a whole different ball game because they got a whole month of running there. It's a unique oval. It's not like any of the other tracks. So there's no reason why Newman Haas can't be really competitive at Indy 500.
We said it earlier on, or rather I said it earlier on in this show, that Champ Car, for my money, rivaled Formula One for success globally. Perhaps it was beginning, most people in motorsport looked at Champ Car and thought, what a great series. But now back in America, we're solidly back in the arms of America, if you like. NASCAR has stolen a massive march on IndyCar. I wonder if they'll be looking over their shoulder to the open wheel variety just to think, will they be coming marketing wise? Will it be the thing it was in the past?
Well, of course, the fact that it's unified, and as we heard Michael Andretti say in the interview from Motegi, that their sponsorship situation is looking much brighter because they don't go into any meeting and spend 20 minutes explaining why there's 2 series. As you say, there always was one series, and it was almost as big as Formula One, and nobody was happier probably than Bernie when they split. It had manufacturers, it had major companies, and it had the major stars, and it was a destination that the major stars wanted to be in. Look at Nigel, went straight from winning the World Championship in Formula One, right, done that, let's go to America. Won the championship there, and that was as he felt, a good reason to do it. Now we'd have to say either championship to win it, you've got to be good, but it's not something that people really sort of rush to.
NASCAR fans are always asking, are we going to see NASCAR out in Rockingham and places like that? We have seen IndyCar at Rockingham before. They are in Motegi this weekend, albeit a bit of a damp squib. Will we see more international racing, do you think, as this unified series now progresses?
Well, they've got a deal to go to Australia at present, to the Gold Coast. At present, looks like it'll be a sort of demonstration race, or maybe they'll find some sort of way of integrating it to make it really matter. But I think Tony George traditionally has always wanted to race in America, and that's where the heart of the series will stay.
And that's where the heart is at the moment. But no racing today from Japan, but I hope you've enjoyed what we have been able to show you. As we mentioned, rain is forecast for tomorrow in Japan, so we can't say with any certainty if we will be able to bring you that race. But if they do run, tune in to Sky Sports 3 at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. If the races rain out tomorrow, then it will be abandoned, as the cars have to be rushed back to America for next week's Kansas Lottery 300. You will be able to see that race in a Great American Motorsport doubleheader next weekend here on Sky. We'll start with the Aaron's 499 from Talladega Speedway in Alabama at 7 p.m. on Sky Sports 2, immediately followed by that Kansas race. As we've mentioned, there's the Long Beach Indy race tomorrow, but unfortunately our American friends are not offering us that live, but it will be included at a later date in our World Motorsport programming. So you'll miss none of the action, of course. Thanks then to my guests, Paul Cherry and Tim Scott, and of course to all the production team who've had to work extra hard today, and thanks to you for hanging in there with us. So that's it for today. Hopefully they'll go racing tomorrow. We'll leave you with some of the mopping up operation from Japan Indy 300. Goodbye.
More sport, news and views at skysports.com.